Good morning. Today we're going to talk about emotional intelligence. So according to Dan Goleman, emotional intelligence is made up of four quadrants: self-awareness, self-management, awareness of the other, and then relationship management. And we'll go through each one. So self-awareness is the idea of understanding what's happening inside of you, particularly on the emotional side. So if you're hit with some difficult news or an argument or someone sends you something that is upsetting, how you react to it internally and how you make sense of it is a first piece of emotional intelligence. And so a lot of my clients, what they often don't have is an emotional vocabulary to process that stimulus, like what's happening. And so for them, we do a lot of work around just figuring out what are the words that come up when you see this email or when you have this conversation with someone or you're on a Zoom meeting and someone says something. What is actually happening inside of you? And one tool I use for that is an emotion wheel. So you can Google it. It's there are many of them. There are graphics which give you sort of in a pie format different emotions and different emotional flavors. So you can go from mad, angry, furious, things like that. And Paul Ekman also has an emotional atlas, which he uses for identifying emotions and for helping people really have a sense of what's happening in their emotional world. And those are the things we tend to process with our right hemisphere of the brain. So once my clients understand what is happening inside of them, then we can talk about self-management, which is the second quadrant of Dan Goleman's model. And self-management is about calming oneself down. How do you go from being upset to being more calm, where you can figure out what's actually a good response, should you respond at all, etc., as opposed to just reacting. And so self-management can be anything from working out, meditating, writing, journaling, speaking with someone. So there are lots of ways to help yourself calm down and become less excited and less anxious, less apprehensive, less upset in a given situation. So that's the second piece of self-management. Then comes awareness of the other. And when you have this called social awareness, so we have awareness of other people, you're aware that, hey, they may be having different thoughts, they may be processing information differently, they may be having different reactions, they may be coming from a totally different set of expectations and perceptions. And to be curious about those and to be curious about what their story is. By the way, being curious doesn't mean you have to agree with it. And it also means that you have to be calm enough and open enough to actually sort of have the sense of, I wonder what's happening on your side of the fence. That is sometimes more difficult to do, actually, and I'm not immune from this. If I'm upset with someone, I have to remind myself that they have their own story. And sometimes when I'm upset, I just don't feel like it. And so I sort of have a joke inside my own head about sitting kind of like this and not wanting to play with them. And when I have that imagery, I laugh, and it makes it easier for me to get into the state where I'm a little bit more curious. And I'm curious, actually, if you have your own way of doing that and going beyond just being upset into this curiosity mode. So once you're in that mode, you can actually ask questions about, hey, what's happening on your side? You can ask these open-ended questions: who, what, when, where, and how, as opposed to why did you do this, to get more of a dialogue going. And then the last quadrant is relationship management. It's the idea of, how do I say things to you? How do I deal with you? How do I listen to you in a way that so that my intention lands with you the way I want? And a lot of my clients have really good intentions, but they miss on this relationship management piece, and their intentions land incorrectly. So someone might say something like, I took care of this for you, and so you don't have to worry. But the way they write that email or the way they say it, a person may get offended saying, you're controlling, or, you know, why don't I get a say? And the intention really wasn't about not letting you have a say. The intention was to, I just want to be helpful. But this person didn't say that. All they said was, I took care of it, or I did it. And so the other person is left to fill in the blanks about their intention. So you can see how this can sometimes result in a conflict. And there are many versions of this. So these are the 4 pieces. So first, figure out what's happening inside of you. Then calm yourself down by using any one of these techniques that works for you. Then get curious about the other person, understand what's happening on their side, and then speak to them in their language or in a language they can understand, whether it's written or verbal or action-based language, so that they get your usually positive intent. So that's your primer on emotional intelligence. If you have questions, please let me know. Email me here on LinkedIn or check out my website, conflictyes.com. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to the conversation. Take care.